Good morning, everybody. Well, I watched this live, and then I watched it again in double time, and here's the highlights. We're going to watch Max's full statement about the introduction of his brand new party, the People's Party of Canada, which is a good name. I'm happy about the name. I like it. So we'll watch that. It's only about 5 minutes, and then there's questions. So I've cherry-picked a bunch of the questions. If you look in the description, there's a time index of all the questions and my notes about the answers, so have a look if you like. But if you want to watch about Max, Max talks about pot at 38 minutes and 55 seconds. He says Bill C-46 is a flawed law. It really is a flawed law. And he said it'll be on the books, but maybe we can fix it. I don't know. So so the time index is in the description. And well, here we go. Here's Max. Oh, hold on. I'm going to adjust the time, the speed. We'll listen to it at 1.25. Hope that's all right.
En anglais. Good morning.
Now in English.
Over the past 3 weeks, I have received thousands of messages of support from Canadians across the country who want a real choice in October 2019. I have been in contact with hundreds of people wishing to get involved as volunteers or stand as candidates. Many groups of supporters are being organized even before the party is officially registered. And we have already raised $140,000 from very generous donors, even though it is not possible for us to issue tax receipt yet. Setting up a new party is a long process, and it will take many more weeks to complete it with Elections Canada. However, today, we are taking a new and important step with the unveiling of the name, logo, and website of the new party, and the opening of our headquarters in Gatineau. Here it is, the People's Party of Canada, PPC, le Parti Populaire du Canada, PPC. Why this name? Because it is time that the government put Canadian people first when they make decisions and policies. It is time to put the power back into people's hands. For too long, Canadian politics has been hijacked by interest groups, cartels, lobbies, and international organizations, corporate or union interests, and the interests of politicians and bureaucrats in Ottawa who are disconnected from ordinary citizens. This is why government never stops growing, taxes and regulation never stop increasing, the Liberal government is out of touch and out of control. It has become unable to solve basic problems such as the migrant crisis and pipeline approval. We see it in the way the old parties try to attract votes and support, not by offering solutions that appeal to all Canadians, but by pandering to various groups and dividing Canadians into little tribes that can be bought with promises, privileges, and taxpayers' money. Nobody speaks for all Canadians. Nobody speaks for the people. The People's Party of Canada will fight for the same fundamental values that I have put forward during my leadership campaign last year: individual freedom and personal responsibility, respect and fairness. We don't believe that government intervention is a solution for everything. Government should not intervene to solve each and every problem on the road to a utopian and unrealistic vision of the society. We want smaller government because we support individual freedom and personal responsibility. We have faith in people. We have faith that they have the ability, the dignity, and the right to make their own decisions and determine their own destiny. The People's Party will restore fairness in our country by denouncing taxes, programs, and regulation that protect industries from competition, create barriers to trade, and force consumers to pay more for goods and services, that discourage investment, crush private initiative, and the dreams of young entrepreneurs, that force citizens to be content with inefficient government services and prevent private alternatives to emerge, that unfair distribute wealth from some provinces to others while keeping the recipient provinces in poverty. The People's Party will respect the taxpayers, respect our Constitution, equally respect all regions, provinces, and territories, and respect our traditions, our history, and what makes Canada a unique place in the world. In the coming months, I will be defending these principles consistently, openly, with passion and conviction as leader of the People's Party of Canada. We intend to have 338 candidates at the general election next year and be a competitive player everywhere. I invite all Canadians to go to the People's Party website at peoplesparty.ca, become a founding member, get involved, and be part of history. Thank you. Merci.
Right, so that was the introduction of the People's Party of Canada. So well done, Maxime. I think the timeline's been pretty good, and I think rolling it out hasn't been easy. But hey, here we are. We've got a name, a proposed leader, well, and he'll get to that. We also have a website. So there's the People Party's website. Link will be in the description if you want to become a member. I'm a member. And so there you go. So there's a bunch of questions. It'll take, the press conference itself was an hour long, 55 minutes, but there was some French and English. The French is pretty good, so I'm going to leave the dubbing. And well, here's the first question.
Philippe Vincent Foisy, I will ask you to be brief and because I have already 12 people on my list. Okay, Philippe Vincent.
Mr. Bernier, there are a certain number of principles you lay out in your speech, but in concrete terms, do you have a specific figure in mind for the immigration levels? In concrete terms, what exactly are you promising to do? Well, in concrete terms, the platform of the party is based on the policies that I brought forward during the leadership race, and we have specific policies when it comes to the economy and equalization and so forth. When it comes to immigration, we will be bringing forth a policy later on. But I can tell you that what we've said is very clear. We want to have a debate on immigration levels. It's not true that this is a taboo subject in Canada. There are people who are in favor of more immigration. There are people in favor of the status quo. And I'm in favor of immigration levels that will allow people to become properly integrated in Canada. And I said during the leadership race that I think we should come back to the average over the last 5 years under Mr. Harper. This is the figure that I put out there, but I'm prepared to debate this with Canadians.
Okay, so they're trying to nail him down how many specific numbers. So they can say Maxime Bernier wants to decrease the number by X percent or whatever. So they're trying to nail him down. And he's saying, listen, I want to have a debate. I want to have a number that we can sustainably have Canadians integrate into the society. That's what we want. That's the goal. That's what Maxime Bernier is saying. They spend the rest of this conference asking kind of leading questions. They keep coming back to it every time they get him. So when a politician says something new, that's called making news. So every time Maxime makes news, they work on that to get him to say more. So you just said X. What about Y related to X, right? So they want to get him as far away from, or to say something as specific as possible so they can write a headline like Maxime Bernier likes hanging gay people, or doesn't want immigrants who hang gay people, which we'll get to because that's something that he uses as an example in this. Okay, so the next question is, what makes you think you'll be different than Preston Manning? And I thought it was an interesting question to listen to his answer, and so here we go.
What makes you believe that you will succeed where Preston Manning and others were not able to form a government? Do you want to be an opposition party or form a government? No, we want to form a government. We're going to be running 338 candidates. We will be competitive. So what's the difference? Well, we're a party that is a coalition of people who are fed up with traditional policies where politicians say one thing one day and the opposite the next day. We want to have authentic policies, and we have the courage of our convictions. There are debates that have to be held in Canada. That's necessary now. And for us, this movement is building. We have the social networks that are different. That's different from Mr. Manning's time. Those networks did not exist. And we're using these networks to try and draw attention to what we're saying and bring in members to this party. As you saw last week, we created a Facebook page where people immediately began to join us. So we have built this organization, and we will be continuing to build it. But we think we can attract people who, as I say, are fed up with current politics. The 30% of Canadians who never vote in a general election. And I believe that we can attract also disappointed liberals who don't like the Liberals' deficits and their high taxes. Liberals who liked balanced budgets under Chrétien and Martin. We also think we can attract people who are socialists and who want policies in place that will help the poorest members of society, such as the abolition of the cartel of supply management. So I think we can attract those people. We can also attract them by getting rid of business subsidies. This is not just a slogan, it's a reality. There are 5 government agencies that distribute subsidies to businesses across Canada, and we have to get rid of that, save that money, and lower taxes for all businesses in Canada. So with a platform that's based on principles such as freedom and fairness and respect and responsibility, we think we can attract many, many Canadians to this movement, Canadians who want real change in this country.
Daniel Leblanc.
Okay, I think I could do an entire video just on that answer. Okay, one of the things that he was talking about is there is a federal government agency that has offices in each province whose job it is to administer funds to the province that the federal government gives them. It's a layer of bureaucracy. That a bureaucracy is just people pushing paper. Like, yes, we received this money and we've given it to Jason. So it's a level of bureaucracy that creates jobs that is expensive and costs the taxpayer money. And he's saying the Conservative Party of Canada wants to maintain this. And Justin Trudeau, I'm sure he would want to expand this. I haven't checked, so that's not news. But Justin Trudeau currently has these agencies running. And so we're talking about actually shrinking the size of the government, or actually having a debate about it, honestly, instead of having a softball debate with Andrew Scheer, who says, yes, we all agree we all need these agencies, but let's have somebody from Alberta distribute the money that the federal government gives to Alberta after they take all the money from Alberta and give it to all the other provinces first. So yeah, right? Like that's really what's happening. So that's only one small piece of the statement he just made, and it's so ginormous, like it's big. And that's just the beginning of the press conference. So we're gonna carry on, and we're gonna go to the next clip because I think it's worthwhile. But I may come back and like undo just that one statement in another video. Okay, so earlier in one of the back and forths between the reporters and Maxime, he refers to Canadian values, and well, this is the reporter's question.
The other issue that you've raised is the issue of Canadian values. Is this a coded message with respect to Muslims or religious minorities? What do you mean when you talk about Canadian values and people who may dilute those values? Well, I've always said that diversity can remain a pillar of this country, but that diversity is important. At the same time, I think it's important to talk about what unites us. And in my opinion, people who come to Canada, as they did over the last 100 years, come to share Canadian values such as freedom, responsibility, and equality between men and women, respect and tolerance in diversity. So I think we have to promote what unites us rather than doing what the Liberal government is doing, which is to promote extreme diversity. And I am not in favor of extreme multiculturalism. I think we have a right to question that. That's a political philosophy that I question. And I would like to see Canada continue to welcome immigrants, continue to welcome people from other countries, and I want to see those people become fully integrated in society. That's why there needs to be an appropriate number of new Canadians that the Canadian society can actually absorb. And that would be appropriate for them and a good thing for the people coming into Canada to be able to have a job, to be independent, to be able to take advantage of the benefits of Canadian society. What I'm questioning really is the Trudeau government's cult of diversity at all costs. I think we should be promoting what unites us here in Canada, and that's exactly what I intend to do.
Right, and it used to be that when an immigrant came to Canada, somebody who was looking for a new start or opportunity or something to that effect, there's a process. They don't fly into New York and walk in through Roxham Road. Okay, and so that is not an immigrant. That is an illegal border crosser. An economic migrant, I believe, in the context of this speech, is somebody who's doing exactly that, following the rules, applying appropriately, and coming here with a job, the ability to support themselves, and they want a better life. They want to have their culture, because Canada is a multicultural nation. That has happened, and we've agreed with that. And that debate happened in the 80s, and we all grew up with that. And I don't disagree with multiculturalism to a certain extent. Controlled multiculturalism where stability is maintained, absolutely. As I have said in many other videos. But they're talking about extreme multiculturalism, and yeah, using taxpayer dollars to put up tourists in hotels on taxpayer dime is just crazy. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, Maxime touches on that as well, and this is the next part of the same question. So I'm just going to keep letting it run because it's very interesting.
Yes, you've talked about extreme multiculturalism, but what exactly are you referring to? Could you give us some examples? You say that you're in favor of multiculturalism, but what examples are out there that suggest to you that it's going too far? Well, I think that people coming to Canada should be coming to share our Canadian values, as I just said, and in that diversity of values. So I don't think we should be promoting people people coming to Canada who have extremely different values. The last time I talked about a new Canadian, a newcomer, who may think that gays don't have any rights in Canada, for example, and that all gay people should be hanged. So if there's one that thinks that way and one that thinks based on Canadian values, I don't think that diversity is a good thing. I'd rather have two people coming to Canada who believe that gay people have a role to play in Canadian society and that they're an integral part of our society. So it's that type of diversity in terms of our values that we must not be promoting.
I thought that was a fantastic answer, except for, and including the kind of gruesome visualizations of, you know, there are people in the world who believe this. Do we want to import those people? That is the crux of the debate. Is everybody welcome to come to Canada, regardless of whether or not they agree with Canadian value that everyone is equal? Women, men, gay people, we're all the same. So should we be mass importing people who don't believe that? And if the answer is yes, why are we not allowed to talk about it? They believe it. They're acting it out in Canada. So we're not allowed to talk about it? Thank you very much again, Max, for bringing this debate. So this next question is talking about the rise of Trump and populism worldwide. They're trying to tie him to it. They're trying to get him to say, oh, that maybe it's a good idea. Maybe it's time to go populist, or maybe we need a nationalist party in Canada. I'm really glad they went with the People's Party because it bypasses the you don't have to say nationalist party because the party is for the people. So, and Ford did this really well as well. So I like this. Anyway, so they're trying to make him, are you populist, sir? No, he's not.
What do you say to people who will say that you're just doing the same thing as other parties who become extremely populist around the world? Well, there are different types of populism. If you look at political parties in Europe, there are populist parties on the left, there are populist parties on the right, and there are populist parties on the center-right. So if you think that I am engaging in that, well, I can tell you my politics is based on smart politics, based on principles. I am not trying to do politics with a view to exploiting the extremes within society. I am interested in smart populism based on serious reforms, necessary reforms in Canada, serious public policy that are well thought out. So I have no problem with being called a smart populist, if you will.
Okay, and again he says, quote, I'm not trying to do politics with a view to exploit the extremes of society. I don't want to be an alt-right populist figure. That's not my point. But that's not going to stop any of our media from painting him that way. I guarantee it. Okay. Next question is, you say you want to promote things that unite Canadians. Do you think the popularity of universal health care has become one of the things that have united Canadians? And I thought this was a good one to include because he answers it well. I think that he can make a good case.
You say you want to promote things that unite Canadians.
Yeah.
Do you think that the popularity of universal health care, as it's guaranteed by the federal spending power under the Canada Health Act, has been one of the things that has tended to unite Canadians?
Yeah, the Canadians, what they want good healthcare services, and I think we can do better in Canada. We can do better, and that's what I want to do. I want to have the right policy that will help Canadians to be able to have these services when they need it, so we can improve. If you look at other countries, like in Europe, they have both delivery of services by public delivery and private delivery. And we can have that discussion in Canada. We have some private delivery of services in certain provinces, and I think we must have that debate. That will be good, and the goal of that debate is at the end to be sure that Canadians will have better services for their healthcare needs.
In that debate, would you be arguing for an end to the Canada Health Act as we know it?
We don't need to change the Canada Health Act for having more private delivery of services in Canada. We don't need to do that. You have private clinic in Montreal, in other provinces, without changing the Canada Health Act. So that's not the priority. The priority is why the federal government will tax Canadians and use that money after that to give that to provinces for health care. I believe that provinces are independent in their jurisdiction. So health care, it's a provincial jurisdiction first. So we must maybe stop to tax Canadians and let provinces taxes for their own responsibility, like health care. And like that, a citizen from from Ontario, they will know who to blame if they don't like the services that they're receiving. Right now, they don't know who to blame. If is it the federal government because the federal government is not giving enough money to a province, or is it the provincial government because they don't know how to manage their healthcare services? So they don't know who to blame. I want the responsibility be in the hands of the provinces first, and for that you need to change it. You need to change it and allow provinces to give more maybe private delivery of services. At the same time, keeping the Canada Health Act. It's going together.
So, again, he packs a lot into his statements, but I mean, opening it up to, I mean, one, remember we were talking about bureaucracy. If the federal government's not collecting taxes and then redistributing it, that's a whole layer of bureaucracy that we don't need to pay for, which is great. Jobs, right? Jobs is going to be the wedge. They're going to start talking about jobs. What's Maxime Bernier going to do? All these layoffs are coming. I don't think so, because if you're creating a competing business, if you're creating a healthcare system that is private, you're going to have people actually coming here trying to make a go of it. And with legal marijuana and medical marijuana in Canada, it's a no-brainer. I mean, we have a population that is open-minded enough to use it specifically for marijuana, but for the public-private healthcare. I mean, if you break your leg, you don't want to have to mortgage your house, but maybe spending 43% of our income on taxes to keep bureaucrats in buildings pushing paper is a bad use of our money. Because private industry can create those jobs. Why do we need to spend taxpayer money on it? We don't. As I said, the press is going to be trying to nail him down. And what do you mean by Canadian values? So they can write a headline that says, Maxime Bernier believes that half of Canadians don't have Canadian values, or whatever. Silly, ridiculous stuff. And I hate the smarmy voices of these questions, too. They're rude, disrespectful.
Adopt Canadian values. I'm wondering if you have any evidence that that's not currently the case, that people coming to this country are not adopting the values that you listed?
You know, what this country is right now, it's a great country. It's a diverse country with people coming from all over the world. So and I'm proud of that. What I'm saying that all the people who came in Canada, they were coming because of our Canadian values, and we must put the focus on that, like we did in the past. So it is not because I'm not saying that people who are coming today, they are not sharing Canadian values. I want to be sure that people who will come in the future, they will always share Canadian values.
So just to be clear, you don't have evidence that that's not the case now, so it's a solution in search of a problem right now?
No. What I'm saying is, Canadians are questioning that. 49% of Canadians are saying that there's too much immigration in Canada. 49% of Canadians are saying that. So I think I want to have this debate, and I'm very open for immigration. We must look at the level of immigration. I want the people who's coming, the people who will come to Canada will be able to have a job, to integrate our society. That's important also, and share our Canadian values. So let's have a real debate about that. That's what I want to do.
During your leadership, you said that.
So I think that it's funny that, he's saying, so this is a solution in search of a problem, so there's nothing wrong, so why are you even bringing it up? Yeah, there's 50% of Canadians who don't feel that our immigration system is working right there, Mr. Reporter. You don't have to talk down to the guy. Jesus. Okay, is there anyone who doesn't have a place in the People's Party?
You can't help who supports you. Some people who may have extreme views online, they support you. You can't tell people not to support you. Wonder, now that you're a leader of a new party, is there anybody you would say explicitly has no place in the People's Party? I'm thinking about people who may want to limit immigration, but for xenophobic or racist reasons.
They don't have a place in our party. They don't have a place. I don't share these values. It's clear.
Pretty simple. This is the last question I'm going to have on the video. This video is already longer than I usually do, and I got to have lunch. But the times are all down in the bottom. This I thought was just great. Max goes off. I can't wait to see him on a debate stage against Trudeau and Scheer. He's absolutely going to shred them. You know what's going to happen? They're going to try and get him off of it. They're going to try and say, oh, no, sorry, Max, you're not polling high enough. You can't be on the stage. If he's allowed on the stage, he's going to shred them. Watch.
Well, look at the current policies of the Conservative Party. As I said at my last press conference, they do a lot of polling to see what position they should take. For me, if an idea is not popular, that doesn't mean that it's not fair and right. If it's fair and right, even if it's not popular, it's not wrong just because it's unpopular. But the Conservative Party is afraid of having these difficult debates. I talked about the equalization system. Now, their policy is to buy votes in various regions of the country. They try to pander to interest groups, such as the supply management cartel. They're giving a privilege to a certain group so that they can collect their votes. And equalization, they don't want to have a debate on that. I think we have to open up that debate, but they don't do that because they're afraid of losing support. And I think that what is motivating in politics is to debate those different positions that may be tough positions initially, but after that, when people hear what you have to say, I think Canadians will be with us because we are defending fair and right policies. Now, supply management, when I started 2 years ago, nobody even knew what supply management was. And, you know, the poll said that people were in favor of it, but the more we talked about it, the more people understood what it was all about. And now, if you do a poll on that, you'll see that a large percentage of the population wants to abolish that system. And it's somewhat amazing that I'm the only politician saying things like that. The Trudeau government is threatening 20% of the economy in negotiations with the U.S. to protect a privilege for 10,000 producers against the interests of the entire country. So that's the difference between our party and other parties. We don't do politics that way. We will bring forward policies that may not be popular initially, but once we talk to people, we know people are smart. We know we can win. And today, you saw Ms. Freeland. She went to a conference where the President of the United States was called a tyrant, and then she has to go back to the negotiating table and negotiate NAFTA. What kind of credibility can she have? And then, of course, we see legislation being changed with respect to gender and climate change, but the NAFTA negotiations are not about that. The idea is to ensure that there's proper trade between the countries, and the fact is we don't have that. We're in a very difficult situation now, and the government has to make the right decisions. We cannot not have free trade with the United States. We are too integrated. 20% of our economy depends on trade with the U.S., and we began a trade war with the U.S., and we know we can never win that trade war. The U.S. is bigger than us. So what I'm saying is that rather than doing what Mr. Scheer and Mr. Trudeau are saying, I think we have to sit down at the same table with Mr. Trump and seriously negotiate with him by, first of all, talking about the abolishing of supply management for all of Canada instead of threatening many jobs in the auto sector, among others.
Mr. Bernier,
And I'll leave you with that. He is going to every single point I agree with, wholeheartedly, emphatically, and I can't believe it's taken till now and a creation of a new party in order to have legitimate politicians stand up and say it. Thank you, Mr. Bernier. Bravo. I'm with you, and more donations are on the way. MaximeBernier.com, peoplespartyofcanada.ca. Link will be in the description. Thanks for watching, guys. I know it was a long one.